Good afternoon, everyone. It's Dave Collins here from Single Point IT. I'm also the Director of Learning Innovation at Innerborough School, and I'm really pleased that you can join us this afternoon as we have a look at getting going with Google My Maps. I'm going to admit right from the start today, I've been playing with this. I've been experimenting with it with some teachers at my school have been using it a bit, but I'm not going to claim that I'm the complete and utter expert in this, and I think I claim that a lot of the time when it comes to training. I just feel like I've got a few things today which I think are cool and handy, and I will be able to look at helping with that. And I apologise for the phone ringing then. But yeah, I just wanted to go through a couple of the things that I think are very useful about Google My Maps. So let's have enough of my face. Let's have a look at the screen where I can show you some of the work that we have been doing. So, all right, you've now got my screen. This is my personal Google Drive here, and what I'm looking for here in this is the capacity to be able to add a few new things. So here we go over here. Click on the new. Oh, I think I'm in the wrong one. Here we go. Click on the new, and I have all the traditional ones here, and a couple of times in the past we've had a look at a few of these ones. We've looked at forms, we've looked at drawings, and so today we look at Google My Maps. Very similar to just straight up Google Maps, except I guess the word my really helps us define that it's actually for our personal use, for us creating our own apps to do with maps. It's not necessarily what you choose to do if you're commercially trying to set up a map on your website and do some other things like directions, but it's a really good starter. And I do find that it has some nice tools in it, which makes it reasonably easy for teachers and students to get going. So here's a couple of things. First of all, as always, let's give it a name. So let's say demo for Single Point IT, and obviously can choose to put a description in there. Now, I guess one of the things to point out right from the start then in that is that that is a map which sits within our Google Drive. And if I just refresh that here, you can see that it's appeared. So all the regular things we can do with a document, we can do with a presentation or slides, that we could do with sheets, we could do with drawings, we can now do exactly the same things with maps. So if I was to right click on this, I get the share button, I get links, I have the ability to add stars, I have open, well, there's only one thing that will open it, which is Google My Maps, but there are a number of things here, view details and work from there. So hit back here, I've given it a name. And in a lot of senses, it's just the basic map system that we have. So if I wanted to have a look at New York, in here, it will still take me to this section of New York and will allow me to play it. Now, traditionally inside here, if I wanted to do stuff, I would look for an object down here to see the satellite footage. In this, there's what they call different types of base maps. And so there's a whole lot of ones here. So I could go here, light political. Not sure what that means. Probably the one that I'm most used to flicking to would be going in here and going into the satellite version, so that when we zoom in, we're used to a very similar thing, and you can see that it's set up pretty well the same as if I was actually using Google Maps. It doesn't appear to have the 3D aspects to it inside this. And it's probably not essential. If you're really after the 3D type aspects of it, you would probably looking at using the traditional maps to actually do it. So as we start to play with it, you can see that we can do searches and we can work from there. Now, the thing that makes this really powerful is that students can embed information about this map with place markers. So we've got some controls here, one which is a select item control. But then we've also got one which is called an add marker. So let's go to Sydney, where I'm actually going to be most familiar with. Let's put a little green marker there. But what I want to do now is I want to zoom in and looking at this. You can see there are certain markers that are coming up already when I look at this. Here we go, there's the Sydney airport. So one of the things I can do here is quickly just grab a marker, just flick to that, and then when I click there on the spot, it places the points, and then I can go Sydney Airport, and I have the capacity from within here to start putting some little notes. So this is the main airport in Sydney, at least until they build the second one. At Badgerys Creek. All right, so there we go, we've got that set up there, and we've left a place marker. Now, as soon as I've left that place marker there, note that it now has the longitude and latitude points here available for us, an edit button. It has an add image or video, and there are some directions to get there and the possibility to delete it. So in this section here, there is the capacity to add images, videos, and even a YouTube URL. So let's just go for a picture of Sydney Airport straight from Google itself. So say I want to use that one there, and I can even shift select. I thought I could shift select, command select. No, only one at a time, it seems. And so now I've added a picture there. So let's just click somewhere else. There's a place marker here. If I put my mouse over the top, it immediately shows Sydney Airport up on the other side. I click on it, it gives me the information there. I'm not sure it got the photos. Let's select, and there is the photo there. Now, once I've created one photo, if I want to add more, there is a plus button here which enables us to add a second photo in. So we can click here, and let's add a third one. Okay, so now I have this map, and I press save, which is probably where I stuffed up before. And if I click on here, it immediately shows me pictures from there. So just imagine an activity in your classroom where you say, all right, over the holidays, who spent some time in Sydney? Or anywhere in the world, to be honest, but let's spend some time in Sydney. Where did you visit? And tell us about the great things that you visited. So let's go, all right, over the holidays, I went and saw something at the Sydney Opera House. So I would come to this point here, and you can see there are a number of things already embedded from other ones, but then I can just grab the place marker, click here, and go Sydney Opera House. And we came here to see the ballet, which I've never done at all, and we came to see Swan Lake, and that's the only one I know of. And then I can click here. Once again, I can do a search for Opera House. Pick that, and then I could add another one here, which I could go and grab Swan Lake. And that one looks good enough there, and save. So we've left a place marker here, but remembering that all of the Google apps that we work with are collaboratively can work, there is a share button. It's in a slightly different position to what we're expected. So what I can put here is a share button, and all the normal ways of sharing it, such as typing in a person's email address, work one there, or I can potentially get links and do work from it from there. All of these are usable so that we can actually then share this and have other people from working on it. So I can prevent things there, we'll save it. Share links, so there's already a link that's available. I don't even need to turn that, only accessible by collaborators, and then I can work it from there. Notice how it's set to private. If you want to embed it on a website later on, you will actually need to change it to public on the web so that you can embed it into a website, but I won't do that just for now. Okay, so you could have an activity going where you say, all right, here is the world, here is the map. Go and put place markers of where you went during the holidays and put information there so that when it clicks up, they can see information that's related to that position, that geographical spot. So a similar thing here, bang. And then as people start putting place markers there, they get listed over here. Now the layers are very cool. Layers enable us to be able to choose what we show and what we don't show. So at the moment, I've just got this untitled layer. I don't like things called untitled layer, so cool things we did in the holidays. And it works very similar to sets of layers in something like a Photoshop where we have the capacity to turn them on or off. And so if we have way too much data showing at any point in time, we have the capacity here to actually go, all right, that's not working for me. I want to be able to just get something just to disappear for a while. And so obviously you could even just do a second layer is just clicking here. It seems to take a little while to create the layers. And we could do, if we were happy to do it, where do I live? And so you would get people here to come in and go, all right, I live in Heathcote. Where do I live? And it would be possible for them to grab a pin and place it approximately where we live, which is my house, Ave, and then I could put in some notes there, and well, we could work it from there. And then what basically that will do for us is that the collection of pins that show up at any point in time will depend on whether the layer is turned on or turned off. So that, I think that's quite a cool little thing that can be useful there. We'll get rid of that little search button as well. So the capacity to come in and design several layers in here can be a really empowering way for the kids to be able to provide information. So let's say, for example, instead of doing an activity like that, we could also go to across the world, and we could go create a new layer. Let's call this new layer Great Battlefields of the World. And so we've provided the students with a map, and we want them all to place a place marker in somewhere where there has been a significant battle. Normandy in France. Okay. And places like this, where you'd put, I don't know enough about history to know exactly where all the landings were and all those sorts of things. But basically, once you find the appropriate place, there's going to be heaps of battlefields over France and Germany and places like that. You would put down the place markers, and students would be able to contribute to that. One thing that you may have noticed is this import button here. This import button is really handy because what it can do is, as you see as I put my mouse over the top, it goes import data from a CSV file or a spreadsheet or a KML file. What that basically says, if you have some form of database, a CSV file, spreadsheet, or a KML, which I'm not even sure what that stands for, but it's something to do with markup language, that enables you to be able to get some of these place markers to be placed instantly and automatically for you. So we'll show you how to do that in a minute with a really quick form and how that can work and how that can connect to here. There's probably a couple of things up here I did want to show you here. Firstly, there is this one, which is the capacity to draw a line or shape at a driving route, a biking route, or a walking route. So for example, I can grab this here. Let's just zoom in a little bit and start putting key points on the map. And obviously Google's making some decisions on where it knows roads would actually go. But every time I click, it's saying that it must go to this particular point. And then I'm going to click back there and finish it off. And now that I've actually set that up, it has a whole lot of information over here about where the key points are, what particular things come up in there. And I still can move some of these things later on. It can be a very interesting way of setting something there. Likewise, you can actually, now that I've got directions on that layer, I'm not going to be able to do anything there. So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to click on this and go add a line or shape. And I can just start marking out places. Yeah. And to finish it off, if I just double click on the last one, it will actually finish off that route for me. And if I click on it, or if I go over it on the mouse, I'm just zooming in too much, sorry about that. Go over it on the mouse, it does actually show it up over on the top over there. And if I click on it here, you can see how it actually shows the distance that it's gone. And a similar thing with the walking route. When I click on that here, I can place, it doesn't work as clearly as easily on this, but the walking route is still an interesting one set up there. I'm going to just get rid of that one there. Let's turn cool things we did back on in the holidays. So that's a handy thing there. You can add directions directly. I quite like this one. I've used this a fair bit in the past. So for example, if I was looking at my school, which is Uniborough where I work at, And you know, the traditional job, go and get out the circular wheels to measure the size of the playground. So here we go, section here, that's our outside field. And what I'd really like to do is to measure the length of the field. And obviously I should do it the traditional way. Okay, but I can do the perimeter. Okay, so that actually gets in there. The measuring tool will disappear. It doesn't necessarily stay there at any point in time after you've actually finished the measure. Okay, but notice how there I closed off that triangle and it actually gave me the area, the number of hectares that was involved. It gave me the perimeter, but it also showed me the distance there. So that's a handy thing. I hadn't actually done that before, where you'd actually finish off the shape and it's showing it to you in hectares. And then obviously, no, that's not a very useful measurement, but it could be handy for you if you know how to do the conversions to get that back to meters squared or whatever it is that you're actually using in that. All right. I want to show you one more thing with how to set up some layers. So notice this Great Battlefields of the World has the import button, and we talked about how we could get stuff in. Let's show you how we'd quickly do that. So I'm going to open up this here, go to Drive. Excuse me. I'm going to go New Forms. We're going on some skills we've done in other days, but let's see how we go here. What I'm going to set up on this is location, and it's going to be just a text box. And I'm also going to ask, so we're going to call this Best Holidays. Seen a few people do this one in the past. Best Holidays, the location. Why is it so good? And good place to stay. All right, so we've got those there. And so let's say I've set up this before my class comes in. I don't want them placing the markers necessarily. I just want them typing into the form. When I go to View Live Form, I can come in here and I can say, well, a great place to obviously go would be Port Douglas. Why is it so good? It's warm, great swimming weather all year round. Good place to stay. We really liked the Four Seasons up there. I'm just making that up. We didn't stay there. And when we submit that in, people who've seen this before will remember that if we go to view responses, it's already created a spreadsheet to store this data. And so let's just do one more into this. Another good place to stay would be Cairns. Also, good swimming year. Love it. And do one more, which would be Katoomba. Close to the snow, but only in winter. Yeah, and here we're going to stay at Charlotte's Pass. I'm just making up. I don't have a clue. And I can't spell Charlotte either. There we go. Submit. So what I've got here is we've had an activity in class. We've had 3 people submit some ideas of where you could go for a good holiday. They're listed there. And so now what we're going to do is going to take that data and put it into our map. So here's this here. Let's just make it nice and clear. I'm going to close that one and let's get a new map. Just to keep it nice and simple. And the new map is going to be called Great Holiday Destinations. And I'm going to call this Where to Stay. Right, so what happens here is now I've got this import button and it will search. I can either send it in a CSV file or I can look in my Google Drive. So now that I've done that, notice how I have a Best Holidays Responses one here. It's opening up that. Let's try that again. Best holidays destination, request for it to access it. For some reason, the permissions don't just pass over easily. Select the columns from the file where you put place marks on the map, such as addresses or longitudes. All columns will be imported. So I'm going to press continue after I've selected location. And then the marker, I'm still going to call it location. So this is what each of the markers will be called. It takes a little while for it to load. You can do this with a large file. I did this with all the students' addresses at my school the other day. I did them in groups, brought them in. So note, Google My Maps is smart enough to actually find where these 3 places are and put them on a map for you, so you've got them there nice and handy. So if I take it from there and go My Map, and notice how it says Katoomba, why it's so good, a good place to stay. I could still come in and add some images later on to it, so it's easy for people to use and access. But at the same time, very quickly, we've been able to do an activity in class where it says also good swimming all year round. As we go in here, we really do get some graphical information, which really helps us to understand where places are, but also embedded into it is the information that helps us work out how we're actually going to use that information. If you want to, you'll notice that over here, as you drag your mouse over the top, you can choose to recolor the fill for each of these so that you actually can give it more of a clear whose is whose, rather than all just being red place markers and green ones for things that you search. That actually can be a handy way of helping people understand how that goes. Let's see, what else we have. Remember that we've got the share button here. And so now that we've got the share button here, I'm just going to do one more thing. I'm going to change it from private, only you can access, to it's public on the web. Anyone can view it. They can't change it. They can just view it. All right, anyone on the internet can find and view this. Done. So note, now that I come up here and go here to this section, I've got embed on my site. And it gives you this little piece of HTML code. And I know a lot of people get scared by this, but realistically, it's really, really easy. So I'm just going to click OK. I'm just going to go to this point here, and I'm going to go to Blogger. Okay, and I don't even have a blog set up on this one here. So I'm probably just going to jump. I think I will change screen so I can actually do Blogger on a different one. So hello, I'm back for a second. And I'll go here, share. So you've now got my personal one here, and I'll go blogger.com. My blog, I'm going to go new post. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go map of cool holiday destinations. And notice how it's got this HTML button right here. I'm going to click on that HTML button, and I'm just going to paste. Undo, that didn't work in the way I thought it would. I'm going to click back here to my great holiday destinations, embed on my site, and I'm going to highlight it all and copy it. Come over here and paste it in. So even though we don't understand what the code is here, even well, if you do, great. But now that I've done that, I'm going to flick back, and you'll see that automatically it is now showing that map, and it's embedded on my website. So if I just press preview here, here we go. Here is my blog, and here is this great holiday destinations thing. It can be shared. You can go full screen. People can interact with it, so that they can actually zoom in, do a number of things. Because it's a preview, it doesn't seem like it's fully working, but it is certainly something that gives you an option to work with there and can be a great thing. So now, if I came back over here and I went back to the best holidays form and added another one, which was Victoria. Why is it good? No one is really sure. Good place to stay. I don't know, MCG. I click that in there, and if I do put that in there, basically that's now updated this section here. But what it will do in time, I might just refresh the page for us. It will bring in, open the data table, it will bring in this data. No, it needs to refresh it. Oh, I'm going to have to look into that. I thought that did that automatically. It would refresh the page. Open data table. Yeah. So yeah, it does seem to be working mostly there, but it's not, I'm not sure why that's not updating straight away. In time, I think that will actually change what the form looks like there. And so therefore, once the form is changed, we should then actually have an extra pin marker automatically appear on this particular setup here. It doesn't seem to at the moment. Let's just give it one more refresh. No, it seems to be just static at the moment. There will be a button to do that, and I just need to work out exactly how to get that to work and get back to you on that. So hopefully today has been an informative time for you in how to get going with Google My Maps. There are a number of great classroom activities which you can look at using in them. The trouble is when you come to them, it does take a little bit of experimenting with them. It doesn't seem as natural sometimes as the Google Maps itself, but the fact that we can create a map and then share it to our students, we can use even tools like a Para and Teacher Dashboard to share it out so they can then add their own things to a map that you've started to set up, could be a really valuable classroom activity. I think every time we talk about information which is specifically set up to be shared where it makes sense that it's graphical and not just a static thing. You don't want to just learn about where all earthquakes happen in the world by just writing a list in your book. You want to drop down the place markers so it makes sense and you can see that the plates are connected to it. I guess if I was a science teacher or a geography teacher, this would just be the tool that I'd want to be looking to really master. And as I said right at the start, it's not something that I feel like I've mastered myself yet, but at least I feel like we're on the journey to that. And I would hope and encourage you to have some cool stuff that you've created with it. If there's something that you think you'd like I should see, feel free to send it through to me through the Google Plus community. Say, hey, Dave, we've created this cool thing from what you produced the other day. I hope you've enjoyed this afternoon. And yeah, feel free to get in touch with me if something in there that I can help you with.